Control yourself. Take only what you need from me. American experimental rock band MGMT have returned for their 5th studio album, Loss of Life. Usually when I do a review, I avoid what other people are saying about it, beyond what the artists themselves are saying about it, and then when I am done doing the review, I go and see what other people are saying, because, like everyone else, I'm naturally curious. However, after having listened to the album, I was at a bit of a loss. The album, let's be real, it's a lot. And I was unsure if I liked it, at least upon my first listen. But the songs eventually kept playing over and over in my head, even though there's not even a lot of hooks on this album. There's so many, like little melodic passages throughout all of these songs that do eventually start to infect your brain. And after having listened to this album a few times, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop humming the little ditties to myself. And I was becoming kind of obsessed with it. So I wanted to explain why. And therefore, I went to see what other people were saying. I wanted to see if other people were having the same experience. And what I found was a lot of people confused or not interested in this album or bored by it or something to that effect. And there seems to be 2 main complaints that I found. The first is that there are no hooks on this album compared to, say, some of their earlier projects like Oracular Spectacular or Little Dark Age. But also that the songs kind of meander, making for what some suggest is a boring listen. And it is obvious to me that a lot of people have way too many expectations on the music that they listen to, or at the very least have expectations about the music that MGMT creates, which is insane to me. And as we're going to find out, is kind of insane to MGMT as well. This band has been doing everything they can to signpost that they are not the band you think they are, that, and they've been doing that their entire career, and yet people still listen to MGMT expecting to hear Electric Feel or Kids. With all that being said, I still think this is a difficult album, or rather I should say a challenging album, in that it isn't immediately accessible. It does sort of meander, even though I now appreciate what I see as these artistic diversions. But I understand how they will strike people as bizarre upon a first listen to the project, and I don't want that to turn people away. I do really love this album, as it's going to become apparent, and I think it is the best album that MGMT has created. So before I go through it, I do want to finish off with one more thing, which is that it's worth pointing out that it was produced by One O Tricks Point Never, and everyone's been pointing that out, but they often don't point out that it was also produced by Patrick Wimberly, who is also fantastic, and you might know him from being one of the 2 people who created the band Chairlift, the band that Carolyn Polachek was a part of. And you can definitely hear his production and contributions on this project. And I loved Chairlift. So maybe some connective tissue there is why I enjoyed this album a lot. But yeah, don't ignore Patrick. Patrick's a good boy. So with all of that, the album begins with the song Loss of Life 2, which is a reading of a Welsh poem from the 6th century. While you hear the static of a vinyl album and these organ passages, almost like it's a funeral, or it's like a pastoral sort of like quaint tune beckoning you towards a journey. And the little melody that the organ plays is like, again, it's haunted me for days. It's just such a simple, beautiful melody. The Welsh poem lists off a bunch of things that the orator seems to know. It's just a listing of all the things that they know, and it ends with the proclamation that I have been dead, I have been alive, almost preparing the listener for some of the heady subject matter on this album, but also as if life and death are something so normal to the human experience that people were writing about it in the 6th century. So it's almost like showcasing that like this album is just an extension of what we've always been doing, trying to understand the human condition, trying to create things, bring life into the world, but then also appreciate that eventually it's all going to die. This brief introduction transitions into the Brit-pop epic Mother Nature. The song at its roots is a song about friendship, about two people, Ben and Andrew, coming together once again to make music with the band MGMT, beginning again with a new album, a new adventure, and we are being welcomed as an audience to go for the ride with them. The song opens with the lyrics that seem to be referencing their hit song Kids, which is what still brings home the groceries, as they describe it. But they want to change and grow. They want to burn the past and start anew. Even though they know starting afresh, they understand that you're going to be hesitant as a listener who appreciates their previous works. But there's also some unsettling aspects of the song, an awareness of class and privilege, the desire to make another hit, to stay afloat. There's this constant impulse to keep churning out slop, or else eventually it'll all just disappear and they will be impoverished again. But together, Ben and Andrew will overcome their doubts, overcome this darkness. And that overcoming the darkness is also somewhat like a reference to their last album. So it's like a rebirth from the death of their last album, right? The dark age is done, we're into the next age, you know? And on this album, they want to be true to themselves. They want to find the love that's in their hearts and make an album together that is honest and pure. And I do find it funny because in reading a lot of the reviews beforehand, I didn't see that a lot of people were picking up on these themes. They almost complained that the songs were not as catchy enough. We're not getting, they're so far away from what they were on Oracular Spectacular, but they're saying this. They're saying this in the words of the song. They're moving past it. They're done. They're doing something new. And it's just like I don't know. I don't know what's happening. This is followed by the epic 80s ballad Dancing in Babylon featuring Christine and the Queens. Chris sounds great as always on this track, and at points, Andrew's singing kind of reminds me of Brandon Flowers off of Sam's Town, the Killers album. And in ways, I think there's like some connective tissues between those albums as well, because like Sam's Town was this epic concept album, I do feel that this album as well is an epic concept album. The song itself continues the journey of the previous song, the struggles about writing and wanting to be loved, but also about feeling dead before you even start, feeling the pressure to produce these things by moneyed interests, but also the fans. The balladry hits so hard though with these reverbed 80s drums as Andrew and Chris sing that they want to tell everyone they love them. There is something visceral about this song, about wanting to make something so pure, so joyful, so deeply human that it connects back to people dancing in Babylon. But all is not well. The voices are getting in their heads on the next track, People in the Streets. All the complaints are getting to them. The people in the streets are no longer singing along. They think that the fire that existed within MGMT is gone. And Andrew sings about letting go. He wants to join the people in the streets and engage in the constructive process, but he's also afraid of them. They are no longer a part of the fun of making music. They make the writing process miserable. The buildup at the end of this song is transcendent, as if they're just trying to break free from these constraints. We're provided with this wild synth solo that sounds vaguely like a warped out saxophone, only to be followed by these indiscernible protest chants representing the fans' demands upon them. We then get a harsh break from convention with the very freewheeling psychedelic pop jam Bubblegum Dog. Andrew seems to be reflecting on a time when he was a cynical youth, mocking simple pleasures. But that cynicism is finally catching up with him. He was too cynical to enjoy the simple pleasures, and soon it will all go, because we are, for one, destroying the planet, but also because we will all eventually die anyway. For a song that seems to be about giving up the cynicism and enjoying the simple pleasures, there is this undercurrent of sadness, as if this kind of innocent, ignorant bliss is what is leading to all of our deaths. There is this haunting and beautiful passage near the back end of the song with these tin-like synths that add to this almost medieval-like horror. I also can't help but think that the cynical youth that Andrew sees in himself is also a representation of the fans that are criticizing their music. So there is this sort of like, identification with the crowd, even though you're wanting to sort of like free your mind from it. You want to become this simple pleasure thing and just live in the now and create beautiful art. You want to become the Bubblegum Dog, even though at heart, I think Andrew realizes he is just like the people in the streets. In response to this impending darkness, we get a song about escapism with Nothing to Declare. This is an old school soft rock song with these spiraling synth sounds that add this creepy, almost futuristic energy to what is otherwise a blissful, tune from the 60s or 70s. This search for bliss is not fruitful. There seems to be nothing that they can find. There's nothing there. There's this sense of writer's block, like the freedom to create and to just partake in the simple pleasures and to make a happy, inspiring album has actually sent Andrew into some kind of spiral within himself. This leads into the epic ballad Nothing Changes. The voices of the crowd are back. Even if they create something simple and beautiful, Andrew is aware that nothing will change. The audience will keep squawking. Andrew sings about the need to stop pretending that things could be better, which is likely a reference to their breakout hit, Time to Pretend. Making music is now a Sisyphean task. Even the gods know that nothing will change. The song builds to these bright horns as if the sky is opening, like something is just about to change. And Andrew starts singing almost euphorically, la 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 la, as if he's abandoning himself to the simple pleasures. But it isn't going to change. Nothing is going to change. Nothing matters. Or at least it used to not matter, because we then get the song Frady's Song, which sounds like a nursery rhyme, and in ways it very literally is, since the song is about Andrew's daughter as he decides to sing for her every night, as if all the other noises of the outside world are now gone and he will do everything for her. Love has returned. Music has returned. Her birth is a very literal rebirth of the creative process that will continue to live on. The song ends with this ambient, haunting outro, almost as if you are blending into all of life again. You're being reborn. The creative process, everything is being reborn again in another person, in the next generation. Wow. This realization leads into the track I Wish I Was Joking. Even though making music is a job, the fact that it's a job sucks the inspiration out of it. There's enough love there to keep the flame alive. As he sings, even half of love is still love. It feels like a cosmic joke though, doesn't it? You make music because you love to do it. But then you start making money from doing it, and because it now becomes a job where you have to do it, you no longer want to do that thing that you love. It starts to feel insincere. We even get a reference to the song The Joker by the Steve Miller Band, with Andrew singing, "Nobody calls me the gangster of love." There are also these lines about no longer doing drugs, as if Andrew is realizing that he's settling down. He doesn't have the same youthful swagger anymore. He's buying coffee for $6. He's taking his daughter to Disney on Ice. He wishes he was joking, but he isn't. This is what life becomes. And as a parent, I get it. I get it. Which is where the album ends. We return to the title track, Loss of Life. Or, LOL, the cosmic joke, we live only to die. Sometimes you can keep the noise at bay and, leave something worth remembering. But in the end, we all die. And art, along with it, also dies. But all that matters is in the moment, you got to experience love. And with love, you will also experience the loss of life. And that is enough. The end of the album has arrived. The artistic process, like life itself, has come to its inevitable conclusion. Death. I think what some people perceive as meandering on this album, to me, is play. The album is very freeing. They are self-aware that the chattering classes, the people like me watching and listening to what they're doing, they will pick apart the album, complain that it isn't kids anymore, but it hasn't been kids in almost 20 years. So they are just enjoying making the music that they love, and it sounds fucking incredible if you just let it in, if you let go and just enjoy it as the pleasure that it is. The last song ends with this IDM beat, and I hear a lot of people talking about it. Like, why the IDM beat at the end? And why the hell not? It sounds fun. It's exciting. There's this sense in which, the lack of hooks are themselves intentional, or maybe it's the product of the intentional desire to be free of constraints when making this album. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. There is compelling music at the core here that if you just free your own mind and remove your own constraints about what music should sound like, then you'll appreciate it, I love this album. The lyrics are deep and interesting. The melodrama is both real and fantastical. If you are a creative person, there is a lot here that is relatable, especially the tension with trying to make something that is true to yourself, but while also trying to get the audience out of your own head. The music on this thing is also touching, it's emotional, it's epic. The soundscape here is varied and interesting, and there's so much little details that are worth digging into, and it just hits in all the right ways for me. And that's why it's a 9.5 out of 10 for me. What a fantastic album. And I know it's not completely panned by the critics, but seriously, just let it wrap itself around you. What did you think of this album? Did you love it as much as I did? Or, are you like what seems to be everyone else I see reviewing this and kind of about it? Because I love this thing, So, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want, boost me in the algorithm. I appreciate it. And we're all gonna die.